Hey, and welcome to this introduction of the ELC units from Elinchrom. Now, I've been shooting Elinchrom for many years and it's a great system. The ELC units are very fast. And of course, as you know from Elinchrom, all the accessories which you are used to using, they will work the same way on this setup. Let's look at some setup we did with a jumping model. And you can see the speed of the ELC units. So let's do something creative with the ELCs. Now the first thing you have to remember is small strobes, a second curtain flash, meaning you press the shutter and it waits a little bit of time, and then when the second curtain closes, the strobe will go off. Now there's of course no communication between the camera and the strobes, meaning second curtain strobe is cool, but the strobes doesn't know in which order you shoot or in what shutter speed you're using. So there's something really cool in this one. You go into the menu and you go into the flash settings. And you go down and you go to delay setup. Now it's on 1000 milliseconds, meaning if I trigger this strobe with my skyport, in 1 second time it will actually fire. So the first second is all ambient light. Watch out for this, however, there's always a little delay between triggering and the strobes going off. So if you put your camera on 1 second and the strobe on 1 second, you will miss the firing of the strobe. So just turn it a little bit down, let's say to 950 milliseconds. What happens now is very simple. We put our model in, we use the very bright modeling lights, because the ELC has very bright modeling lights. You can even use them as video lights. At the moment, by the way, we're filming with the ELC modeling lights, so they're very powerful. Now, you set up your strobes and you let your model twirl around, make all kinds of movement, and then at the end of the exposure, boom, the strobe will go off and freeze the moment. Now let's see what the display actually shows you guys. The first thing you see is actually the power output. So you can turn it up, 6.3, or all the way down, this is really cool, to 0.3. Now that's a huge range, right? But there's more. If you look here, you can actually see the speed in which the strobe is freezing the motion. Meaning if I go to, let's say, 3.1, I'm actually freezing with the 5,000ths of a second. And you can see constantly what the freezing time of your strobe is. Now this is very cool, because if you want to shoot a jumping model, you want to freeze her the best way possible. And in this way you can actually see what the freezing time will be. Now also in the menu, you can find the modeling lights. Now the modeling lights are off, and you can turn them on. Like on freeze setting, so now I can change the output of the modeling light. It doesn't change the output of the strobes, only the modeling light. And I can do them proportional, meaning if I raise the output of my strobe, the modeling light will actually raise with it. You know all those pictures that people take with swings, with golf swings? You can do it with small flash in a stroboscopic effect. Watch this. You go to the flash settings, you go down, and you go to multi-setup. You set the frequency, and you can set it on, for example, 20 Hz, meaning 20 times the strobe will go off in a second. Now that's very fast. You can go all the way up to 20, or you can go down to, let's say, 7. You press OK, and you can set the duration. Now how long does this take? Well, let's say 2 seconds, or 1 second. Go to 1 second, done, and exit. And now you actually see here in the display what I've set up. Now what can you do with multi? Well, let's ask Nadine and we'll show you the stroboscopic effect of the ELCs. Also in the menu you find the photo cell. You just press here and you can set the photo cell on off, on or pre-flash. Now pre-flash, that's very cool. What is pre-flash? If you, for example, use small strobes, small flash, it actually has a pre-flash. Now you can learn your strobes what that pre-flash is. And at that point you can mix your small strobes with your big strobes. So normally if you use a setup with, let's say, the old-fashioned strobes, the pre-flash will go off on the small flash, your strobe will recognize the strobe and it will fire. And then the real flash of the small strobe will go off, meaning you miss your shot with the big strobes. These babies, they know exactly when to fire. So they see the pre-flash, they ignore the pre-flash, and then as soon as the big flash goes off, then they will be triggered. So that's a very cool trick. The other thing you can do is, for example, skyport. You can put it in speed mode, normal, you can even put it off. And you can put it into groups, channels, and whatever you want to do. It's very, very simple to set up now. Now the power settings, this is also very cool. You go into the power setting, for example, for standby. When do you want the strobes to go to standby? In no time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, or whatever you want to do. Now this is very cool. If you leave your studio and you forget to put off your strobes and you have them on power saving, no problem at all, they will just go into standby. What you can actually do is press it very short and now it goes into standby. It's off. It doesn't use a lot of power anymore, but it's in standby mode. The cool thing is, just press once and it will also be activated again to be in full operational mode. Statistics. You can see how many shots were fired, how many the power cycles were used. You can see whatever you want in the statistics. And every time if you want to leave the menu, it's very simple, you just press here to leave it immediately, or you can go one level back. Now, there's so much more, but one thing I really want to show you, and this is also very nice, the user memories. You can make a setup, for example, let's say I want a delayed setup, and I want so many hertzes, I want so many frequencies, and I want this and that. No problem at all, you just store it. Now you put your strobes back into the default mode and you can just use your strobes as you normally would do. Now at the moment you want to use that very special setting, you just call up your user setting and with one click it's in the memory. And you can use it. If you want to go back to the default, just make a new memory with only the default settings. For example, memory 1 is the default, memory 2 is the strobe and memory 3 is sequence. It can just change very quickly so you don't have to go into the menus. Okay, and I'm going to show you another setup with Nadine. What we actually did is we put one strobe on stroboscopic effect, so it fires like 7 or 8 frames, and then at the end of that effect the main strobe will actually fire on Nadine, meaning you will have the accent light going all the way up, and then at the end that strobe will go off and freeze Nadine. So let's look at that setup. Okay, so now you've seen all these setups and you've seen the simple stuff, you see the more advanced stuff, and of course there's way more in the system because it's a really complicated system, but it's very easy to use. And with complicated I mean it can do whatever you want. So you can make all these combinations. But the most fun we always have when we use something called confetti. So we have a little confetti machine back here and we're just gonna kick it into high gear with Nadine. So let's bring out some confetti, because it's actually a little bit of a party, right? New strobes, ELC units, Elinchrom, man, they rock. They're awesome, they're fast, they're very, very stable, and the menu structure, everybody will understand them. So, let's bring out the confetti and have a party.